Right off the top, it was a Crosstown Shootout. You know, if you go to Xavier, you're thrown into that fire right away as far as that Crosstown Shootout. And you know, we had the Devil of the Summer League. So you got all the incoming freshmen from the schools, from Cincinnati, from Xavier, and we're on the summer league team, and that's, you know, it's a big deal then too. We want to show that we have the best class, the best players, and we here. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it started. So that Crosstown Shootout was real.
Welcome into the Xavier Basketball 100 Years podcast, brought to you by Heartland Bank. In today's podcast, we have Xavier legend James Posey talking all things Xavier and his life in the NBA. Thanks for following along so far, and stay tuned for more Xavier Basketball 100 Years podcast interviews. I kind of want to just start maybe in your early years, and I think as I've connected with former coaches and players, there's always a different way of how we all came to love the game of basketball. You know, what was it for you? Was it a family member, a mentor? But what got you on the court and got you to become, you know, such a good player?
For myself, it was trying to stay out of trouble. You know, growing up in Cleveland, my project, you know what I'm saying, just the environment that was around me, and finding my little outlet, which was sports, and just keeping busy. So from basketball, you know, football, baseball, anything I could play, you know, to keep me busy and away from, you know, the little negativity that was going on there. You know, I took part in, and so it was a rec center called the Bath House, and so I started to go over there, and I was a coach, Buddy King, and he ran all the programs there. And, you know, like I said, I was just participating in everything. He took a liking to me and a lot of the boys from my project, and that's sort of where it started. And from there, just trying to, you know, get better, you know, as a competitor, just trying to get better at the game in itself, you know, just skill-wise. And that's sort of where I took off at from there, from the bathhouse and Buddy King.
So Buddy King, he kind of saw something special in you. You know, at the time when you met him, did you kind of feel like you had the skill and talent level to become a good player, or did he kind of, I don't want to say help shape you, but give you an idea that, you know, maybe I can be really good? I mean, when a guy sometimes sees something in you that's seen a lot of players, you know, did he kind of expand where you thought you could go for the game early on?
I mean, well, he had a love for the basketball game itself, and he was a big fan of Kareem. And so from at the time, you know, I was always the tallest kid for the most part. So he got me down in the post, and he always talked about the hook shot, how he's unstoppable. So he started teaching me the little hook shot, the sky hook and everything. So that was like him working with me one-on-one, trying to put the hook shot into my game. And then just from there, just like I said, just working with myself, and then the other guys that was, you know, in our project, you know, just helping us. And like I said, that was an outlet for us just to stay out of trouble. But like I said, his liking for Kareem, he and since I was the tallest out of most of the boys that was playing, he wanted me to perfect the hook shot. I never did, but that was his hands-on approach and helping me.
Yeah, I never tried the hook shot, but I would think after working on floaters and skilled shots like that, that's one of the most difficult shots to even attempt at any point.
I mean, just starting off, that's a very tough shot. I mean, you figure even just shooting the ball is challenging for most, but the hook shot, man, it was tough. So that was like I said, that was my first even just experience at playing basketball, period, not even understanding really, you know, the concept of the game. I'm just taking advantage of the opportunity of being in the gym and just playing with my friends yesterday.
And then in high school, you went to a school in Twinsburg, Ohio, and I was reading an article from your former high school coach, and it was either him or one of your high school teammates, and they said they had these adjectives to say about you. They called you a high flyer, they called you skinny, they called you smart, they called you savvy, tough, and versatile. And I feel like that's kind of how you ended up playing at all three levels. So Is that how you would describe your game early on as well?
Yeah, like I said, just I, I'm a great competitor, and so just you know trying to get better at the craft and just finding my niche for a team. Yeah, I was skinny, but I wasn't afraid. I didn't back down. I was tough. I always took pride in. Like I said, my defense. That's where I started. I wasn't the most skilled. I wasn't. I didn't have a crazy jump shot, and then I didn't start really jumping until till my sophomore year. You know what I'm saying? So, I was athletic, and I just had, I guess, a graceful approach to the game and how I moved and how, so I approached and played the game. But it just, like I said, just over time, just things just sort of developed me. And like I said, by that time, I understood the game of basketball, and I knew how I could, impact that game and what I needed to do just to, I guess to be competitive and just go out there and compete.
Yeah, and I know that this was a long time ago for you. I don't want to age you on air right now, so I apologize if I just did that. But when did the recruiting process start for you? And you kind of started to realize, well, I could definitely play at the Division I level, and Xavier is a school that is interested in me. I believe Coach Prosser was the head coach when you were getting recruited. But when did you kind of get an idea? I can definitely be a Division I level player, and Xavier in Cincinnati is kind of the place for me?
I want to say like my sophomore year. So when I got to Chamberlain High School, I was at Shaker originally, and at Shaker Heights there was a guy, Malcolm Finn, and he was all everything. Like he was on everything, and so I watched him growing up, and then he ended up going to college on a scholarship. I want to say he ended up going to Cleveland State or somewhere else, but he ended up at Cleveland State, and I'm not sure what really happened after that. But my sophomore year, you start getting little letters here and there, and it started locally, at Cleveland State. And still it was like, okay, not really. Like personally, I really didn't know anybody to go to college and just play. So it was just like, okay, it's a college letter in itself. And then as I just continue to play and get better each year, I want to say, I just started receiving more letters from those schools that were interested in things like that, during that process. And then Xavier came, and Coach Battle, who was the assistant coach at the time, he saw me playing during the AAU circuit, and then they started reaching out. The next thing you know, I started getting flooded with letters from Xavier, from Coach Battle and Coach Proctor saying, they like me, this and that, but I'm just, still not understanding the whole process in itself. And so by my senior year, I, it was starting to get real. It was more so like, okay, I have a chance to go to college. So now I'm sort of scrambling, like, okay, what I got to do to get to college? And so now it was the SAT, the ACT scores that, along with your grades, that you needed to, qualify to get the scholarship to go to school. And so it was a little too late on that end, because I ended up being a Prop 40 because of my grades and me not passing those tests. So I think I might have took the ACT twice and then just the SAT once, but I didn't pass. I didn't get the scores required to basically get the scholarship or whatever. So I was a Prop 48, and during that time, it was a lot of schools they stopped recruiting me because they knew I was going to be a Prop 48. And Xavier and Coach Prosper and Coach Battle, they said they wanted me to come there regardless. And so I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So I couldn't turn down that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I said I would come there. And my parents, they had to pay the tuition my freshman year. And then I had to hold the 2.5 just so I could get my scholarship my sophomore year. So then that's when I, buckled down with my schoolwork. I was able to get my 2.5. Then I got on scholarship my sophomore year. And so that whole freshman year was more so just building myself up as a student because I couldn't practice with the team. Only time I was around my teammates was at study hall. So, you come in with your incoming class and they're going on road trips for games, and I'm back at the dorm doing work, saying just I'm a regular student at the end of the day, what I'm saying? Like it was just a different situation for myself because I never went to school without playing a sport. It always worked out for me to play. So that was new. But like I said, it gave me the opportunity to grow up and also get my my academics together. And so that was a big part when I say as far as the recruiting process. When they told me they still wanted me to come there, I just like I couldn't turn that down. And then I liked the style of play that I saw when I took my visit. I remember going to the game. It was Xavier versus OU, Ohio University, and so my high school coach, Coach Posey, he took me down there on my visit, and we went to the game and everything. And as I'm driving back, 71, I told him, I said, "Yeah, I'm going there." And he sort of laughed a little bit. And he just told me, just take your time, take a little nap, just enjoy the ride home and things like that, and we'll just talk about it, a couple of days. And I pretty much knew once I left that visit that I was going to go to Xavier.
Well, it sounded like you definitely handled your freshman year almost with ease. I don't know how many guys, when they're a true freshman in college, would be able to kind of attack their academics and their athletics with that kind of focus. But then when you get that opportunity to play as, I guess, your second year, you made an immediate impact. Did you expect to have that impact right away at Xavier?
Well, hey, don't get it twisted. It wasn't smooth sailing and it wasn't easy. And for myself, like I said, that was the first time that I had to actually that I went to school and I couldn't play a sport. So I was calling my high school coach. I was calling my mom, my dad, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm leaving." I was trying to see if I could go to like a JUCO or prep school just so I could at least go to school and I could still play. And I was like, it was nonstop. You know what I'm saying? Like I made those phone calls, and Coach Paddle, said he was, right there in my corner as well, telling me why I should just stay there and stay focused and things like that. He had my high school coach come down, spend a couple weekends just to, keep my sanity and just to talk to him. But it was tough. It was tough. And the only season I had during my freshman year was the intramural league. And so that's what I had. So that was my season. I was on the team with Chuck Crocker. He played baseball there. I was on his team. We ended up winning the little championship there, but that was my season. And so that's sort of, as far as skill wise, that was the only way I was sort of able to, stay in shape a little bit and work on my skills because, like I said, I couldn't practice or do anything with the team. So that was my season, and so I had fun with that. And on top of that, like I said, I was able to get my grades together, which, looking back on it, I think that's probably the best thing for me, not being able to play my freshman year. And so now, from my sophomore year, which is my first year, I was ready to play. I was excited, happy to be out there. Everything was clicking and rolling at school. I didn't have to worry about that. I had everything academically on the right track. So now it was just a matter of me learning systems. Now I was around my teammates, my classmates, and everything. And so we're in there like I'm having fun, and then we just working hard and trying to get better. So that was a lot of balled up and built up energy that I had.
Yeah, and your rebounding ability is what a lot of people talk about too. Your toughness, your nastiness on the defensive end, obviously your ability to score, but rebounding for you is something I feel like that you took to heart. In every game, it just seemed like you were always attacking the boards. When did that start for you? And did Coach Prosser, Coach Battle, did they kind of, want you right away to be a big focal point for you?
Well, I mean, it goes back to even Buddy King, like, being one of the taller kids out there, like, rebounding is important, and you have to, it's a mindset and it's a toughness in doing so. So if you're tough enough to get in there, bang, throw your body in there and scrap for the ball, and you give yourself a chance, and I just carried that with me. So when I got to college, it was, I might not have been the tallest or the strongest, but I was going to fight for every rebound. I just felt like I could get them. And then it's, for me, I figured out a way that I could sort of outsmart some of those guys with my quickness and things like that. Like I would tap rebounds out and run and get them and things like that. But I was always in a fight for a rebound, and I just liked my chances. And, that helped me. I mean, I think, that year I might have been like the second leading rebound on the team, and I was coming off the bench or something like that. So it was just having that toughness, and I think that's what it is. Like, it was fun for me to bang it, throw my body around with those guys. Like, even in practice, we had T.J. Johnson, Terry Payne, Teray Braggs. Like, we had big bodies around, and I'm in there probably the skinniest one, and I'm banging with them trying to fight for rebounds. But it made it easier for the game because I was going against those guys. So I'm like, man, I can bang with them and give rebounds. So I know in the game, I like my chances. And so I just, like I said, just trying to do my part. And it wasn't like offensively, like they were running plays for me at all. You know what I'm saying? So I had to get it another way. So you talk about rebounding, offensive rebounds and putbacks. That was how I was able to make it.
And did you buy into coming off the bench right away? Were you satisfied being in that six-man role? You obviously relished it, and you were essentially a starter. But did you ever want to be, more in that starting role, or were you immediately okay with, hey, I want to come be the six-man, change of pace for the team?
Who doesn't want to start? Like, who doesn't want to start? And then when you look, and I remember just looking at my stats, I was like, why ain't I starting? You know what I'm saying? And I had those talks with Coach Foster and Coach Battle, and all they kept saying is like, for the good of the team, this is what you bring to our team, and this is what we need you to do. And yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow, sure. And so that was I thought about, man, I could go somewhere else and I could start.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just coming off the bench, so I was a little upset. But then, like I said, I just accepted my role, and I made the best of it. And after a while, once I understood it and saw, like my impact, I was okay. So I just made sure that, I was still able to produce as that sixth man. And that's just what I did. So you figure my first 2 years, I didn't start till my senior year. So that's my third year playing. You know what I'm saying? So I started a few games here and there, maybe, but not like actually just to be a starter. It was my third year, which was my senior year. And so, it was a lot to go with it. It was different, the minutes increase and expectations and stuff like that. So it was, it ended up turning out being the best thing for me.
So which year would you think about leaving? You would think after your first year playing, because if you sat out your first year at Xavier and then your second year you play and you have the numbers to be in that starter role, I think the last thing you'd want to do is go somewhere else and then sit out again. Did that kind of weigh on your decision as far as staying at Xavier as well?
Yeah, exactly. But and then, I also, like I said, at the end of the day, for Coach Foster and Coach Battle to say they still wanted me to come there, despite my grades and everything, I just couldn't, I didn't want to renege on that either. And like I said, so after my sophomore year, like I said, it was tough. And I'm like, I should be starting. Even my junior, my junior year, which was my second year playing, I was still I'm still not starting like that. So it was tough. But like I said, by that time it was cool, and I ran with it. And I started getting recognition. Dick Vitale, it's one of the top six men in the country. Those 2 years, and that felt good. But I just didn't, like I said, I didn't really understand it. My sophomore year, my sophomore year. So that's pretty much how it was.
Well, you obviously ended up with a big-time career at Xavier, top 20 all-time in scoring and rebounding. You led the Muskies in rebounding all 3 seasons you played. 1998 A-10 championship, most outstanding player, 2-time six-man award winner. I mean, when you think back at your career at Xavier, and the NBA as well, but I know we're kind of focused on Xavier right now. But, what do you think about that time? Are there any games that stand out to you, maybe playing the Crosstown Shootout, getting the NCAA tournament? But, in your mind, if you can kind of go back to that time in college, what were some of those special moments?
Right off the top, it was a crosstown shootout. You go to Xavier, you're thrown into that fire right away as far as that crosstown shootout. And we had the Devil of the Summer League. So you got all the incoming freshmen from the schools, from Cincinnati, from Xavier, and we're on the summer league team, and that's it's a big deal then too. We want to show that we have the best class, the best players, and we here. You know what I'm saying? And that's how that's how it started. So that crosstown shootout was real, and to go there and we beat them when when they're number one in the country at Cincinnati. That was a great feeling, and I mean we only lost the 1 year, like, so I was 2-1 against them, and so just to beat them was great because you know how everybody they viewed Cincinnati like they were a college team, but it seemed like they were a professional team. How much love and just how they carried themselves around the city and stuff like that, and everybody just didn't know give Xavier that respect. But I think we started to get that, and things started to change from the players that we started getting coming in, and just how we used to mop them up during during the season. So that was big for me game wise. I think my senior year I had a dunk against George Washington on the road. So, banged on two guys, but we ended up losing that game. Also going to the NCAA tournament, my first go around, playing against Vanderbilt, playing against UCLA, and then that's it's like, man, that's college basketball right there. It felt good. And then just like the friendship that I made with guys at Xavier, that I still have to this day with some of those guys. It's it was just like the best college experience that that I could have. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, I mean, it's a lot of things that but those things right there stand out that I'll never forget.
Who are some of the guys that you still keep in touch with?
You got you got Reggie Butler, Alvin Brown. You got Jamal Walker. He's older, but we still keep in contact. You say Darnell a little bit, Trey Rags here and there, but between Reggie Butler, Alvin Brown, you say Dwayne Crockett, he plays baseball, but it was just those relationships. So it's just those guys that we build a little brotherhood that we still keep in contact with each other.
All right, so then you decide to leave Xavier and go to the NBA, which was, I think, a pretty good decision on your end. You're a first-round draft pick, 18th overall by the Denver Nuggets. Do you remember that feeling when you got drafted? I'm sure you do, or maybe it was a little bit of a blur, but just the excitement after such an incredible college career to be drafted to the NBA.
Well, so being a top 48, I had another year that I could have came back and played. But at that time I said, man, I'm about to get my degree, my piece of paper, like I'm done with school. So I wasn't coming back. But in that same breath, I hosted David West on his recruiting trip. And so that was one of the things they were saying is like, you come back, you can play with D West. Not knowing D West was going to dominate and kill how he did. They was like, you come back and play with, and just play with him. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? I got everything. And I'm not saying that I thought that I was going to make it, in the NBA. I heard plenty of talk and chatter about guys that should make it and, and they didn't make it. So I didn't actually believe, that I, made it to the league until I got drafted and I heard my name called. So when we went to the draft, we sat there and it was Sister Roseanne Fleming. She was a big part of everything as well. She was there, Coach Battle, Coach Prosser. Then my family, you know what I'm saying? It was like, we were just going to take advantage and share this experience because those were very important people in my life. And it helped me at least get the opportunity, if things worked out to play in the NBA. So we all was in D.C. for the draft, and the Nuggets, they selected me 18th, and right then that's when I finally believed that I could play in the NBA.
All right. Hey, do you mind if I go back to the David West, James Posey visit at Xavier? Because when I talked with D. West last week, he brought up the visit as well, but he didn't really expand on it. But I do find it interesting that both of you brought that up. So do you remember maybe some of the conversations you had about that visit? I mean, obviously, I think you guys still keep in touch now, but that specific time, do you remember having a really good conversation with D. West?
I mean, the the visits is crazy. I mean, of course, you show them around campus, and you have the opportunity to play, pick up with them, things like that. But you selling the school, and you're selling the school based off your experience, and that's what it was for me. And like I said, I came in, I was a top 48, so I just gave him my whole little spiel about everything, and just on the on the school side, academic side, where they care about your academics as well. And Sister Roseanne Fleming, she's a big part of it. And then, just real honest conversation with them. And, you never know until the guy signs if you really did your job or if they, believe in anything that you're saying. And then when he end up committing, it was like, okay, we got one in. Of course, the coaches, they speak highly of him. They think he's a perfect fit. And that's that's what it was.
Come on over to Heartland.
Now, to run a successful business, you need to develop a strong relationship with your accountant, your attorney, and most importantly, your community banker. If you find it hard to get advice from your bank, maybe it's time to consider Heartland. I'm Scott McComb, CEO. Come on over to Heartland, where banking really feels good.
Where banking feels good. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, so then your first year in the NBA, did you have difficulty adjusting to the pace of play and kind of figuring out your role, or did you feel like, hey, I'm going to kind of continue to be that defensive stopper, hit shots, rebound, and, guard the best player on the team? Did you feel like you were able to find that role quickly, or did it kind of take a while to feel it out?
Well, but by that time, like I knew what I brought to the table, and that was defense and just playing hard, competing. So I was going to do that regardless. Of course, being in the NBA, you have to learn the system, how things operate, and so that's what I did. So I end up starting, I'm going to say, probably maybe 20 and 30 games into the season, whatever. And like my role didn't change, what I'm saying? But offensively, I took advantage of opportunities when they presented themselves. And of course, being drafted, you think about your draft class, you always want to play well, to show that you're worthy of the 18th pick or that you want to have better stats than other guys in your class. So that was always, in my mind as well. But, some of the guys have better opportunities than me, where stat-wise, they were better than me. And so it was just a whole, basically, like I said, it was a rookie year of learning the NBA and how things go, and just learning my team. And I had a great coach, and at the time it was Dan Issel. He was our head coach, but assistant coach-wise, it was John Lucas. And then I'm playing on a team with Nick Van Exel, ex-Bearcat. So, of course, we had a little chatter about that. And then you have Antonio McDyke. And those guys, took me under their wing and helped me from that point on to the end of my career, and building a good friendship from that.
Well, then you won 2 NBA titles, one in 2006 with the Miami Heat, along with D. Wade, Shaq. Pat Riley was the head coach. But in that series, you guys, I believe, were down 2-0, and you had to kind of pick yourselves off the mat a little bit and come together. Maybe if you could walk me through, down 2-0 in that series, but what you guys did, what did Coach Riley say to you to kind of get you guys back on track?
Well, it's one of those things where you watch the NBA and you see, you watch the finals, and for me, it was always like, how would I perform on that stage during that time? And so it was all new to me. But I had great leadership, one in Pat Riley, because, he was he had won before in LA, so he had that experience, and also Shaq. And those two, they never wavered in their just approach during that season. All they kept saying is, we just need to win the next game. The things that we're doing, it's working. We just got to do it harder. We got to do it together. We got to be more consistent. And then, you started to, you stay positive, even though it was down. I mean, you down 0-2. You're like, damn, like, shit, we can get swept. And I think for us, when we lost that second game and we're getting on the plane and you just heard the chatter, they were talking about they're going to sweep us. They was already planning a parade route and everything. And it was almost like disrespectful. Like we haven't even left the city yet, and that's what y'all think is going to happen. And so I think that rubbed everybody the wrong way. And like I said, we came back. And I think the format helped us too, because it was like 2-3-1-1 or something like that. So we go back home, and then we win at home. And so we said, okay, so we're not gonna get swept now. So now we just gotta, we gotta win another one. And so we won that second one. So now it's tied 2-2. It's a different ball game. And then we won the third at home, and then we go on the road to win it. It was just like, our confidence is, it grew with each win. And then, like I said, it just brought us closer together, and you focus more when you're down. And it's crazy because it's that fear. It's just that fear from within. Like, man, it could get ugly, and that's what you're going to be remembered as, known as. And so for us, we channeled that energy and help us, win those 4 games. And that's the best feeling in the world, to win, a championship on the biggest stage at the highest level.
Yeah, and you were guarding Dirk Nowitzki for, a majority of time in those games, and I mean, every night in the NBA, you're taking on, some of the best players in the world. But, a guy like Dirk, an incredible scorer in his prime, it's already won a title, before that. How did you get up for that challenge? Were you watching film to kind of watch every move that he would make? And then when you got there, just, no back down, physicality, make him work for everything. Even if he hits a step back, 3 from 5 feet behind the arc.
Yeah, well, at that time, they hadn't won yet. So that was 06. They hadn't won yet. But Dirk, he was at his prime. He was a great shooter, a 7-foot shooter shooting over top of everybody. And that's one thing, like, you just have to live with how they say, good deeds is better hope. So for him, he made some tough shots and he made plays because he was able to shoot the ball. And he was an all-star. So, but we had to wear on him and the rest of the team, because they were pretty much a jump shooting team. And so that's when you talk about the force of just doing everything harder, and that's how we wore them down a little bit, because now, those jump shots they were making early, now they're a little tired, they're a little short. You know what I'm saying? Now it's just wearing on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, we forced it, imposing our will on them a little bit. But Dirk was tough. You know what I'm saying? Udonis and myself, we basically was tag teaming them for the most part, just wearing them down and, being physical with them and, doing all the little dirty work and scrappy little plays because that was their guy. And so we had to, contain him. And that's what we were able to do over the course of the series. And, that's really it.
Did you ever see Pat Riley's hair out of perfect position?
Never.
It doesn't. It's stuck in place forever. It can't move. Not even a tsunami would take that hair anywhere.
I take it back. After we won, and we had the champagne shower and everything, that was the only time. But outside of that, everything was slick, everything was tight. You know what I'm saying? So that was the only time.
That's pretty funny. And then in 2008, you won another title, and then another difficult matchup in that game. Were you on Kobe? Because you guys played the Lakers in that finals, right?
Yeah.
And then
yep.
So were you on Kobe during that time as well?
Yeah. So with Boston, I guarded Kobe. I guarded Lamar. Lamar Odom and things like that was like my matches were mainly on Kobe. And like I said, even then you had myself and Paul Pierce, where we tag team him and we try to wear him down. One of the greatest players also. You know what I'm saying? And You can't stop them. You just hope to contain them, and you just want to wear them down as well. But I just think during that season, we had a bunch of tough guys that accepted their role and had a high drive of competitiveness. And it was just like, the biggest stage. And we got the big three. You got Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen. And those guys, a little bit past their prime, but this was their opportunity to win a championship. And they made so many sacrifices to get to that point in their game when we got there. And, everybody clicked. And that was one of the things, like we saw them and the sacrifices that they're made. So for us, the role players, we couldn't be crying and arguing about nothing. And so we all, had a bond on and off the court. We had fun. Like when we played, we had fun. Like we just had fun out there. So it was a great feeling. And then had the opportunity to win in Boston, one of the storied franchises, and putting banners in the rafter, like the opportunity to add to that was a great feeling as well. And like I said, that was my second championship, and that was KG, Ray, and Paul Pierce, their first. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things to do it with those guys and for that organization. It's a great feeling.
How much is your body beat up at the end of the year? You go through the regular season, preseason, NBA playoffs. That's a long, long season. Do you feel any aches and pains in those moments?
Yeah, it's a long season from the games and practice, and you have to take care of your body. Some icing, maybe stem, getting your rest. You got to eat right, and you just gotta. That's what it takes to go out there and play at your best. So you have to do those things, take care of your body, get massages and things like that. That's just part of it. I was blessed because I never had any major injuries during my career. And I think it was maybe my 10th year in the league, I was in New Orleans, where I had a small tear in my meniscus. So outside of a small tear in my meniscus and the little surgery that I had, I was blessed to play a career where I didn't have major injuries. So that was a blessing in itself.
All right, and then after your playing career, you've done some work coaching as well, where yet again you win another title. So everywhere that you've been, you've won, and then of course that was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron James got a title with Cleveland. You were coaching under Ty Lue. What was the difference between winning a title as a player and winning a title as a coach?
As a coach, you're helpless for the most part, and you just hope that the team sees the vision, they still believe in it, and they go out there and execute. Because now you're coaching them through it. Now you gotta, hopefully they understand it and they're able to go out there and execute. And you can't go out there and do it for them. And you talk about, the mental aspect of you have to be locked in, as a player and remain focused to carry out the game plan, which may change just in the course of a game or throughout the series. So that's one thing as far as being a coach, you just feel helpless in that sense where you just can't go out there and do it for them. But like I said, you have to, paint the picture for them so they still see and believe in the vision and what you're trying to get done, and put it out there for them. And if they buy into it, everything, if everything, goes right, you give yourself a good chance. So that's the biggest thing about just being on the coaching side and winning. And, we had great leadership in Ty Lue. As a player, he won. He was coached by, Phil Jackson and, was on Doc Rivers' staff as well, where along with the coaching, you also manage egos, you massage egos, and, you're dealing with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love, all stars in a sense. So, it has to be a sacrifice between the three of those guys as well. And T. Lue did a great job of doing that And I think, just his experience as a player and also, seeing some of the coaches like Phil Jackson and Doc Rivers, how they handle superstars, I think that helped them in that process, even when we were down. So I think that was a big part on his behalf. Sure, his growth and his capability of doing so.
Yeah, do you ever look back and just think about all the experiences that you've had, the basketball minds that you've been around, and just it's hard to believe maybe sometimes, all of the incredible experiences that you've been able to go through playing the game of basketball and coaching?
Yeah, because I'm not thinking about it because it's crazy because I never thought about just playing in the NBA. Like, like you hear now even from kids, my own kids and stuff like that, like you want to play at the highest level. So they're thinking about playing professionally already, and they're just like in high school or, just still little kids. Like I never thought that way. I just took advantage of the opportunity of just playing and getting better to get there. And then, like I said, to win at the highest level twice as a player. And like I said, you always think about how would you perform in those situations. Well, the first one was shaky. I was nervous, and I won, and I felt like, okay. So now in 2008, I felt like I was a veteran at it, and I understood what came with it. And I think I handled myself, even my nerves and everything, and also talking to my teammates just to help them because I was the only one that had won on that staff. You know what I'm saying? On that team. So I'm talking to KG, Paul, and Ray because they like, yo, what is it like? And you just had those small conversations, and we're in the same fight, the same battle, night in, night out together, and we get it done, and we win a championship there. And then on the coaching side, it's like one of those things. I went in Cleveland, born and raised there, not too far from from the arena downtown. So to come back full circle to win a championship, the first championship, for my home team, my city, like that was a great feeling. And I just think about that, like just to come back, like I said, full circle and have that experience. And now I have, 3 titles to show for it. And, it's just been a blessing along the way.
Awesome. Well, Xavier Nation's definitely glad that you decided to make your college stop there. Your picture is still all over the place. You got jerseys everywhere. So Xavier Nation, I don't think it can forget about you, even if they want to, Posey, which I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. But I do appreciate you.
I hope not.
No, definitely not. But no, thanks so much for jumping on. We'll get this out to everybody. But thanks so much for taking some time to relive some of those magic moments at Xavier.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Take care.
You too. Thanks.
All right, well, I'd like to extend a big thank you to James Posey for jumping on this week's podcast. Next week, we have yet another special guest. This time, our guest will be walking us through the top Xavier moments from the Crosstown Shootout games in the 90s. Thanks again for checking us out, and stay tuned for more Xavier Basketball 100 Years podcast interviews.
Brown starting his dribble. He moves in, he pops up, he shoots. Scores! Lenny Brown! Xavier wins it! The Muskies win it! 71-69! And the UC Bearcats are number 1 in the country, number 2 in their own city!